What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 7 of the FanDuel Football Multiverse, where we explore various what-if scenarios and see how things could have been different across the NFL. Today, we're going to ask what if Patrick Mahomes lost all of his weapons. We are pushing Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Sammy Watkins down the depth chart and seeing what Mahomes can do while playing with just the team's secondary pass catchers against the Philadelphia Eagles. I am Jim Sonis, a senior writer and analyst at NumberFire, joined here by JJ Zachariason, editor-in-chief of NumberFire and FanDuel. JJ, we will not see Travis Kelce dancing around the field here today. We're going to see Patrick Mahomes for the second time in the football multiverse. We saw him last time, though, throwing to Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller. Things are not so cozy this time, so what are you expecting out of Mahomes with no dancing Travis Kelce out there?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because Travis Kelce's entering. He's like, I'm not playing today. I'm not playing today. And he's pumped. Yeah, I mean, I think Mahomes should be fine because like we've seen in these streams, the way that the target shares and the targets are distributed in these offenses, I don't see this like major difference in talent at the pass catching positions in Madden as I do at the quarterback position. We saw the difference between Mitch Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes in the first week that we did this. And it was in Taysom Hill. And we've seen a large, huge difference in quarterback play, which is to be expected. But we just haven't seen the same type of impact like when we added OBJ to the Packers, for instance. So from that perspective, I think Mahomes should be fine.
We shall see. That is for sure. And it's not as if like the cupboard is totally bare. Like he saw his Mecole Hardman there, Demarcus Robinson as they go at the handoff to Damian Williams to start things off. Picks up a couple, so brings up 2nd down and 8. But I mean, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, Mecole Hardman. That's not the worst cast of all time. No. It's not great. That's for sure. It
could be worse. It could be worse. If there were other teams doing this, they would be in a worse spot than what Mahomes is in. Mecole Hardman, it's going to be fun to see what he can do because I think Hardman is pretty talented. I love him in fantasy this year, but it'll be interesting to see him as the top, most talented pass catcher.
And speed matters a lot in Madden. And Mecole Hardman, he's got a bit of that, just a little bit of speed as he catches the out there. I was playing Madden back in the fall, and I always play as the Jets because I don't know why. I hate efficiency and hate happiness. But I added Mecole Hardman via trade, and he's really fun to play with in Madden. So I'm actually pretty excited to see what he can do here. I know that like the real world aspect you were talking about is more important, but he's pretty fun in Madden too.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
3rd down and 6 here for Patrick Mahomes and those misfit Chiefs. Let's see what they decide to do here. We're going to see a Mahomes pass, which I think is encouraging. I think Blake Bell actually had a couple of catches when we simmed this with Trubisky, but this one's complete to Demarcus Robinson. And Robinson gets across the 40 to the 41-yard line. Robinson, a guy who got snaps pretty decent amount of the time last year, especially when Tyreek Hill was banged up. So, again, not as if like he's working with total scrubs here. All right, who would you take, JJ? If I force you to choose between the Chiefs starters, who are Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, and Byron Pringle, or the Greg Ward group for the Eagles at the end of last year?
That's a good question. I think when you add in tight end,
okay,
I would go with the Eagles pass catchers. But if you're looking strictly at wide receiver, I'm going Chiefs wide receivers there for sure.
There's the Belldozer. Picks up a couple of yards.
Yeah,
Blake Bell.
Lit up.
The former quarterback at Oklahoma. I believe he's a quarterback at Oklahoma. Could be wrong about that, but should probably fact check some of those. But like that's what they're working. So Greg Ward, a former quarterback at Houston. Blake Bell, former quarterback at Oklahoma. So there are some similarities here for sure.
Yeah.
And this one is picked off. He was trying to get it to Pringle, but it was picked off. All right, so now we're seeing the impact of the lack of pass catchers here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, Blake Bell was not intended for him, but back in 2013 with Oklahoma, 140 of 233, so 60% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns, 5 picks. Not bad. They probably should have targeted him instead of Byron Pringle there.
Yeah, not bad at all.
So now we will see Carson Wentz. And it's not Carson Wentz with that Greg Ward team. It is Carson Wentz with Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey being healthy for this game. It's also Nelson Aguilar being back with his team. We get to see Miles Sanders in what I would assume would be mostly a lead back role. So this is going to be pretty similar to what we'll see the Eagles like this year, except there's no Aguilar, and you get Jalen Reagor in there at wide receiver. First play for the Eagles goes to Miles Sanders, goes to the outside. He'll pick up a couple, but Jordan Howard is on this roster. I'm not sure if he will be the goal line back, but I would assume we see a lot of Miles Sanders here today for this Eagles team. Miles Sanders on FanDuel, $12,500 for this game. Carson Wentz was $15,000. Alshon Jeffrey, $12,500. And then Jordan Howard and Deshaun Jackson were both $10,000. Zach Ertz, $12,000. I think I like the value in Deshaun Jackson there.
Me too.
And that's a completion to Alshon Jeffrey.
Whoa, here we go, Alshon.
Where did that burst come from?
Okay, Grandpa. Okay.
53-yard touchdown. That may be more yards than Alshon Jeffrey had in a game the entirety of last year.
Look at that burst out of Alshon.
That Achilles ain't an issue anymore. Alshon Jeffrey asking us to just put some respect on his name as he houses that one. 53-yard touchdown. The Eagles take a 7-0 lead.
It's wild how we look at Alshon Jeffrey like today, because he was such a freak for so long. Yeah. It's almost like his career just was so strange because he was sort of in the shadows with Brandon Marshall. We weren't really able to see him be like the guy and dominate, and then he's always had injury issues. It's kind of disappointing and annoying, but at least in the multiverse, we get to see Alshon Jeffrey go for 53 yards and outrun everyone on the Chiefs defense.
Not a good sign for the Chiefs defense that happened. But Alshon Jeffrey last year. Okay, so he did have 137 yards in one game. Sorry, I shortchanged him. That was against Miami in that shootout that they had towards the end of the year that they lost. But Alshon went nuts there. Then he got hurt early on in that next game against the Giants. 76 yards against Minnesota on 12 targets, of course, and 64 yards in another game. But outside of that, this would have been one of his biggest yardage days of the entire year last year. All right, so we get to see Mahomes back out there again with his merry band of men. And we'll see if he can have some more success on drive number 2. This game already almost more high scoring than what we saw last night on the stream, where we had the Bills facing off against the Patriots with Cam going up against Josh Newton. Cam going up against Josh Allen. Let's see if Mahomes can get some redemption here on drive number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should. I still think that Mahomes is going to light it up. I know that he had that bad pass, but I'm still pretty bullish on Mahomes having a good game.
Yeah, and there's a lot of time, too, because that big touchdown for Alshon Jeffrey means that the Eagles aren't going to have like this crazy time of possession. It means that the Chiefs get the ball back quickly. Yeah. That's a good thing for your DFS lineups. All right, so Mahomes is going to throw here. And it is a completion. So Pringle gets some redemption there, as he was the guy who was targeted on the interception, but this time it is complete. Pringle picks up 15 yards. Byron Pringle was $8,000 for this game. Demarcus Robinson was $9,000. Mecole Hardman was $9,500. Honestly, JJ, I'm okay with all those.
Yeah.
Given that their quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, like, I think all those salaries are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I would have built is around those cheap players, and then maybe go with like a Wentz for on the Eagles side too, just to get pieces of the passing attack for Kansas City, because you have to assume that they're gonna be able to produce.
Damian Williams lowering that head and picking up a couple of yards and bringing up 2nd down and 5. Damian Williams was $11,500. He didn't do a whole lot in that first stream, but that was partially because Mitchell Trubisky could not move the offense again, it's weird to say Mitchell Trubisky for the Chiefs, but that's the way it was as we swap the two teams there. But it brings up 2nd down and 5. I think that from a bang for your buck perspective, the receiver is definitely the better play as Damian gets stuffed there after a gain of 1. 3rd down and 4. Maybe this is a spot where we can get Blake Bell involved again. I want to see Blake Bell be the MVP of this game. It'll be tough with Alshon already having 53 yards and a touchdown, but I am firmly on team Blake Bell. $7,000 for this game. 1 catch so far. Let's make it 2 and a tutty right here, Patrick. Let's go. 3rd down and 4. Mahomes surveying, lots of time, and he is taken down. Derek Barnett gets the sack for the Eagles. It's a good defensive line, and it shows up there, even against a really good Chiefs offensive line. Brings up 4th and 11. The Chiefs probably going to have to punt here. They gave Mahomes time, just couldn't quite find anybody open. I think that's the biggest impact of not having wide receivers is you can't get open, you hold on the ball a long time, and guys like Derek Barnett, Timmy Jernigan are going to get to you eventually.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the impact that we see. We'll see if he is under pressure more in this game without Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Sammy.
I'm assuming Mahomes is not a big rushing guy on Madden, but we saw in the playoffs last year when things mattered a lot, he was willing to run, and when he did so successfully. And does this punt stop? Wow. What a punt.
I like how they don't even down it in Madden. They just run by it and kick it. Yeah.
But that downs it inside the 5-yard line. So a big field here for Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think that this discussion around the role of pass catchers is interesting because Carson Wentz a couple years ago was an MVP candidate before he tore his ACL. Ever since then, though, hasn't been able to regain that level of production. Last year, he finished 18th in per dropback efficiency based on number fires metrics. He was behind Jared Goff. He was behind Drew Lock, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr. They were all ahead of Carson Wentz from a per dropback efficiency perspective. And it's not because Carson Wentz is a bad quarterback. It shows the impact of pass catchers. I think we're seeing that at least a bit with Patrick Mahomes as Jordan Howard gets the rush there. But let's play this out, JJ. Like, what if, in theory, like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Sammy Watkins all decide to retire and go off and just play cribbage with Sammy Watkins all day? Like, that's what they decide to do with their lives, as opposed to playing football. What would you be expecting from Patrick? Oh, a safety!
Oh, a safety!
Wow! They decided to go with the heavy formation, and
man, this is the first safety we've seen.
It is, and that means that the Chiefs are going to get the ball back. All right, so the Chiefs defense redeeming itself after the long touchdown for Alshon Jeffrey. So we're going to get the Chiefs offense back out there. But what would you expect from Mahomes if we had like if you had to build projections of this offense if Mahomes did not have those pass catchers?
I mean, it would impact him for sure. I still think that Mahomes would be a top 5 like fantasy quarterback because he's so good. But the one thing that I do want to point out though is that we saw what happened to a quarterback who was in this Chiefs offense with and without improvements in that offense with Alex Smith. Alex Smith was fine. He was serviceable, but then he had that one blow-up season the year before Patrick Mahomes became starter, essentially. And in that season, he was throwing the ball deep at a higher rate. He was throwing it accurately deep at a higher rate. Just goes to show, and a lot of that wasn't just Tyreek Hill, it was Travis Kelce, too, going down the field a little bit more. It just goes to show how important pass catchers really are. And there's been a lot of data and analysis that's been done on that, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll definitely be a long pass. There he is.
There he is.
That's our guy, the Blake Bell Brigade. I'm going to call us that. Blake Bell Brigade. That is what we are here today as he gets the long reception. That's the value of Mahomes is from a good quarterback is having someone who can find them when they get open. Again, the question is, will they get open? And I think that if we're comparing Cam to Carson Wentz, like from a weapons perspective, I think that I would expect Cam to finish better than 18th in per dropback efficiency if we gave him that Greg Ward squad, but he wouldn't be what he is now. And I think that's kind of the way we're looking at it here as he gets one to Damian Williams, little juke move, and he's still on his feet. Damian Williams, like, I think we can't call it a revenge game because it's the same team, but like maybe he's just showing off the, hey, you don't need Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Right.
I'm here, baby. I'm already here.
Packed stadium in this pre-COVID world.
Gives me the shivers to see that now.
Yeah, I know.
2nd and 3 for the Chiefs as we start the second quarter. Mahomes has looked good, did have the pick, and that pick didn't seem to be Byron Pringle's fault, so I think we can put that one on Mahomes. But outside of that, he's played really well. Just needs guys to get open for him. 2nd down and 3, run for Damian Williams, and he does pick up the first down there. Nice game for Damian so far. 12 yards rushing. Had that nice reception. Couple of moves. He's throwing Byron Pringle
Is he
around
exciting Byron Pringle, or is he trying to motivate him, or is he yelling at him? I can't tell.
All the above.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that. I remember after that Lions game where they almost came back to win, Byron Pringle had a reception that brought them close to the goal line, and Andy Reid was talking about in the post-game press conference about how he was already scheming to get Byron Pringle an endorsement deal. Yeah. This game will help. Gets a second reception there. Maybe we can get Byron Pringle an endorsement deal. Let's do that. That can be our second angle. The first angle is Byron Bell Brigade, or Blake Bell Brigade. It'd help if I get his name right. The Blake Bell Brigade 1, Byron Pringle endorsement deal, number 2 motive of this stream.
Pringle wasn't that bad of a prospect. I'll just throw that out there.
Absolutely. And the throw goes to Blake Bell.
There he is.
Sozer for the touchdown. We're living, JJ. I think he got those moves from Travis Kelce.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think that because he plays Kansas City tight end, he's just going to celebrate like Kansas City tight end?
I think so, and I hope so. I want to see full sassiness out of him that we get from Travis Kelce. Maybe we'll get him to throw a glove at a referee at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want other aspects of Travis Kelce to be involved here, but this is good. 8-7, the most normal football score you have ever seen, as Harrison Butker adds on the extra point, so it's 9-7.
All because of that safety.
All because of Blake Bell.
At least
give the safety credit. It's all Blake Bell.
At least that safety means we're probably not going to have an overtime game.
All right, so here we go. Here's the thought process. If Blake Bell hadn't had that one reception, the punt would not have pinned them on the 2-yard line. And if they don't get that, they don't get the safety. Ergo, Blake Bell is responsible for all 9.
Oh, he's definitely the MVP right now. There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
We get another glimpse of P90X Andy Reid, which is good.
He looks very angry. I don't know if he's just maybe he didn't use Blake Bell.
I mean, look, the plyometrics DVD is not the easiest one in the world. He must have just completed that one in the morning before this game happened.
I don't even want to imagine having to do that.
I don't want to imagine Andy Reid doing that.
I think I'd rather watch Andy Reid do it than the fitness instructors that they have, because
True.
I just feel bad about myself whenever it's people like that. And if it's Andy Reid, it's like a normal person. I can feel better about myself.
Yeah.
And if I watch Andy Reid push through it, I can do it too.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. Touche.
All right, so Carson Wentz back out here for – this is their third drive because they had the touchdown, then they had the safety. Now a third crack at it. A little bit more breathing room this time for this Eagles offense. They scored on an Alshon Jeffrey 53-yard touchdown. The Chiefs touchdown coming on a Blake Bell touchdown reception. He has gone nuts so far. We'll see what this Eagles offense can do on drive number 3. Play action fake for Carson Wentz. Lots of time in the pocket behind that awesome offensive line. All day to throw, and he takes advantage by
Oh my gosh.
I think that's Honey Badger. As Tyrann Mathieu does get the pick right at midfield and turns the ball over. They gave Wentz all day, but he throws a pick anyway.
My goodness, that's like having 3 years to prepare for an engagement and getting ready to get down on one knee and just falling flat on your face whenever you're trying to do it.
I think he was just so excited about the prospect of having Deshaun Jackson back and fully healthy. He was like, I'm throwing it to him no matter what, and went full Cutler and decided to degap.
That was so bad.
It did not pay off.
So bad.
So we get the Chiefs offense back out there. This has been a fun game so far. Turnovers, points, it's been good.
It has been good.
Maybe we'll have to negotiate to get Patrick Mahomes on every stream.
Next, I don't think people would be upset about that.
No, I would not, at least, personally. But next week we get to have some fun, too, because we're going to have another Lamar Jackson stream. But this time, though, it's what if the Browns had taken Lamar Jackson instead of Baker Mayfield, which means it is Lamar Jackson, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku will be there. No Austin Hooper for that one. But that'll be a lot of fun. Get to see another Lamar game. Damian Williams, another nice juke move as he picks up 8 yards there on that carry. Who needs Lamar Jackson when you have Damian Williams? But then the second one next week will be what if the Patriots had kept Jimmy Garoppolo? It'll be Jimmy Garoppolo on the current Patriots team versus Tom Brady on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That one should be a fun one as well. So this is a good stream so far. Next week should be good as well. Pass goes out to Demarcus Robinson. He has got space down the sideline inside the 25-yard line. That was a backwards pass, so it counts as a rush. So the Mahomes users missing out on points there, and also Demarcus Robinson missing out on a half point for the reception. But hey, 21 yards will get the job done too.
Yeah, look, these pass catchers are looking good. Even tight end is looking great. There hasn't been a drop-off from Travis Kelce to Blake Bell, IMO. But Byron Pringle looks good. We haven't seen a ton of Mecole Hardman. And then we obviously see that play by Demarcus Robinson. But so far, so good without these top-tier pass catchers.
I think the motivation here is that the teammates realize they need to rise up to the level of play that Blake Bell has put out there. And they're like, okay, naturally, if Blake Bell is going to go nuts, I got to do something too.
Of course.
Handoff goes to Damian, and he picks up a couple yards.
That almost looked like he was about to do a flea flicker.
It looked like an RPO, or not an RPO, but just a read option, because Mahomes held on to the ball pretty long.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Mahomes there too, but he's been good. Really, I think exceeding expectations at least, given the people we've given him to throw to is, we got that one to Pringle, but Pringle couldn't quite haul it in. Another nice pass, though, by Mahomes. 8 of 10, 91 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. The pick was his fault. I think that is true for sure. But outside of that, Mahomes playing pretty well here so far.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that he's going to be the guy who would pay off in this game, even though he doesn't have those pass catchers.
Just wish he had Alshon Jeffrey, man. That's all he needs, clearly. Yeah. This one is completed, and that's Mecole Hardman for the touchdown.
There he is.
Mecole Hardman, $9,500 on FanDuel. We've seen a nice little distribution here. We saw a Demarcus Robinson run. Blake Bell had a touchdown. Byron Pringle's had some nice catches. And now Mecole Hardman gets in for the touchdown as Mahomes is being taken down. That puts the Chiefs up 15-7 here in the second quarter.
Mahomes is ridiculous in this. I mean, he's ridiculous in real life. Don't get me wrong, but he's ridiculous in this game too. Nice little pass and catch there.
It is ridiculous how good he is, and you can tell like when he throws, the zip on his passes, like they accurately portray how big of a gap there is between Mahomes and a lot of other quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
3:25 left in the second quarter. The Chiefs or the Eagles will get the ball back here. They are down 16-7. It's been a rough go for them ever since that Alshon Jeffrey touchdown. They gave up a safety, and then since then, touchdowns for Blake Bell and for Mecole Hardman. Alshon Jeffrey playing some catch there with Carson Wentz, getting warmed up. Andy Reid still angry.
Yeah, why? Andy Reid's like one of the jolliest coaches in the league, if not the jolliest, and he's just so angry in this game.
One of my favorite anecdotes was Charles McDonald. He's on Twitter at 4Verts. He ran into Andy Reid at an airport, and he got Andy Reid's macaroni and cheese recipe.
Oh, yeah.
And Andy Reid was like, it's a 6 cheese mac and cheese. He sends like 5 different cheeses and then says that should be 7 or something like that. Like the math calculation was totally off.
Yeah.
But it was just, it looked really good, honestly. I've never tried it, but I feel like I do need to.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that you can just have a conversation with the guy and he tells you his mac and cheese recipe. Carson Wentz has only thrown 2 passes in this game.
Feast or famine, man. A touchdown, a pick. Not great, but also really impressive touchdown for Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, if you're taking two throws, it's not a bad outcome from a fantasy.
53 yards in the touchdown, absolutely. And they got the ball back in their hands quickly. So this one's been high scoring so far. Carson Wentz once again getting all the time in the world. And this time he takes advantage with Zach Ertz getting the reception there. I was terrified going in because of the Ertz Goddard thing, because the numbers are so close, and all you need is like a little bit extra fabric on the 6 to like make it connect to beat Goddard. But long completion there to Zach Ertz, and the Eagles moving the ball and trying to add more points already here.
Well, I'll say this. The difference between Ertz and Goddard is one looks like Jason Witten and the other one looks like Rob Gronkowski. So we can at least use that as sort of the differentiator. Zach Ertz is fine, guys. He's fine. But he's also this generation's Jason Witten. Let's just be honest.
Or this generation's Kyle Rudolph, I think, in a lot of ways too. Where
with more volume, yeah.
Right. They're allocated like a certain number of missed tackles per year, and if you see Zach Ertz miss a tackle, you're like, all right. I mean, he's going down on contact for the next 15 receptions because that's just how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
We did get Goddard there, though. So both the tight ends getting involved here for the Eagles. Not a lot of Deshaun Jackson yet. He was the targeted player on that pick, and this time does go out to Deshaun Jackson. He picks up a first down. All right, so we're getting D. Jackson involved, Goddard, Ertz all in this drive, and Alshon Jeffrey already doing well with that touchdown. So a well-distributed game so far on both sides where we've seen a lot of relevant performances for DFS.
Yeah, I was surprised, or I think that they will get Deshaun Jackson more involved down the stretch here. I shouldn't say I was surprised that he hasn't been involved that much yet because Carson Wentz has only thrown 4 or 5 passes, but both of us were into him at his price point, at least compared to some of the other guys. I kind of wish that it was him who got that early touchdown as opposed to Alshon.
I feel like I would be doing terribly in these things because I was talking down Alshon Jeffrey right before he had a 53-yard almost picked there again by Tyrann Mathieu. Risky play there by Wentz. But I was talking down on Alshon Jeffrey at $12,500. He has a touchdown. I love Deshaun Jackson at $10,000. He hasn't done a whole lot so far yet. And it was Blake Bell. Oh, yeah, Blake okay. Bell. The Blake Bell brigade has come through, and we should not overlook that fact by any means. 2nd and 10 here for the Eagles inside the 2-minute warning, and that one's complete to Nelson Agholor. And Agholor gets it inside the 20, but taken down there. Clock is running inside of 2 minutes. A first reception there for Nelson Agholor. I would assume the Eagles probably want to run this clock down so that they don't give Mahomes the ball back with too much time left on the clock because he has not been fazed at all by the lack of pass catchers around him.
Yeah. I mean, in real life, they definitely would have.
Oh, Miles.
Oh, you got to catch that, Miles. Gotta catch that.
Buddy. It's not great, Bob.
No.
Miles Sanders, a fringe first-round pick in fantasy football so far this year, and all the buzz around it has been positive. They do have Boston Scott there, and Boston Scott did perform well, but it seems like this Eagles coaching staff has committed to Miles Sanders, despite that drop, which I'm sure will be a big demerit against him. Jake Elliott on for the field goal. And that one is good. So 16-10, the Chiefs on top. JJ, it seems like based on your rankings, you're in on Miles Sanders. What's your overall evaluation of him heading into 2020, though?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I understand if people are questioning the amount of volume that Miles Sanders could potentially see this year. Especially if you look at Doug Peterson's history. He's been head coach now for 4 years, and in those 4 years, we haven't really seen a workhorse back until Miles Sanders last year down the stretch after Jordan Howard got hurt. But I would argue strongly that we also haven't seen a player even close to Miles Sanders' caliber at running back on those Eagles teams. I mean, they had Ryan Matthews for a little bit. They had LeGarrette Blount. They had Corey Clement. They haven't had these really good running backs. But now they have him. I think that you can project him at least a little bit more safely to be more of a workhorse. I don't think he's going to be, a Saquon Barkley type workhorse necessarily. But I do think that what you look at when you project a guy who isn't to that level necessarily, but he still looks really good in projections, is the fact that that he has a really high ceiling then, because he can grow into that role a little bit and he can do a little bit more. So if I'm looking at, drafting a Miles Sanders versus an Austin Eckler, you're looking at a guy who is giving you a floor in Austin Eckler who doesn't have that high of a ceiling realistically with this new offense. And no Phillip Rivers, nice little screen. Oh,
I thought he was going to break that too.
Yeah. No Phillip Rivers, and the offense might not score many touchdowns. He might not be the goal line back. There's a nice floor for Eckler. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to see the ceiling. But with Miles Sanders, it's almost the opposite, where his floor should be fine enough, but the ceiling is there for him to be this year's Dalvin Cook.
As the Chiefs call for a timeout there, but looking back at Miles Sanders last year after Jordan Howard got hurt, and it's important to remember, the same running backs will be there this year for the Eagles were there at that time. Boston Scott was on their roster for most of the stretch at least. And the first game with no Jordan Howard, 85% snap rate. Then 85%, 88%. That game against the Giants where he got hurt, 71%, 82%. His snap rate was 85 or 80 to 85% in most of those games. And if you get that out of a running back, you're going to get production. Blake, you're going the wrong way, buddy.
Yeah.
But you're going to get production.
Yeah, I'm just really mad right now that you brought up that Giants game. My home fantasy league last year, I dominated in the playoffs, but I lost the opening round because Miles Sanders had dehydration issues. And so Boston Scott was the one who got the touchdown in that game. And if Miles Sanders would have scored, I would have won my fantasy championship because my team dominated in the playoffs in weeks 15 and 16, but I lost week 14 because of the dehydration stuff.
There he is.
There he
Blake
is.
Bell, unleashed. We just trade Travis Kelce right now. Get him out of the paint. Let's ride Blake Bell all the way.
Huge day for Bell. He's at 5 receptions for 71 yards and that touchdown.
That's amazing. Going back to that Miles Sanders game, I remember I had a lot of him in single game DFS for that one. So maybe not as tilting as a season-long championship because, like, I spent 20 minutes filling out the lineups versus 20 weeks assembling the roster.
Right.
But it was not a financial boon for me that Miles Sanders got hurt in that game. Hopefully it's a financial boon for you that Blake Bell is doing this. Another completion to Damian Williams. 20 seconds left. I would assume the Chiefs should take a timeout, but they're deciding not to because they assume...
This has field goal written all over it.
They just want to unleash Harrison Butker with 10 seconds left.
I hope they at least run a play.
I don't think they're going to.
No, I don't either.
Chance. Harrison Butker, $9,500. Couple of extra points so far. Probably coming out here for the field goal attempt for the Chiefs to wind down in this first half. Although last time I tried to close the first half before it was over, there was a kickoff return for a touchdown. The Eagles playing the prevent here, as they are not convinced that Butker will kick it. Butker does, though, and he does so successfully, putting the Chiefs on top 19-10, but there is enough time for a kickoff return before the second half. And remember, the Eagles, I believe, yes, they will. They'll receive the second half kickoff, so they're going to get the ball back. Competitive game, 19-10, already one of the higher scoring streams we've had here so far.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't go the same route that the Lions-Packers did last week when we saw a lot of scoring in the first half and then like 3 points in the second half.
Absolutely. But a good game so far. Do not forget to subscribe to the FanDuel YouTube page, which is where you're watching that. I assume watching this right now. Subscribe to the FanDuel YouTube page because next week we have a pair of streams once again, Wednesday and Thursday night, right here at the same time. You can find the contest for those in the FanDuel lobby. The first one is already posted, as there will be 3 seconds left. Sanders returning kicks too, all right? But the first one already posted. That is, what if the Browns had taken Lamar Jackson instead of Baker Mayfield? And we will get to see what the offense would look like with Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and Lamar Jackson all in the same place. So the Eagles will kneel this one out. And then the Thursday stream next week is what if the Patriots had kept Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo square off on the Patriots against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So should be 2 good streams once again next week as we go to halftime here, 19-10, the Chiefs on top. JJ, impressive first half for Patrick Mahomes. Any takeaways for you from that first half of play?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it. He's got, 40 more yards than Carson Wentz does right now. He's got a pair of touchdowns. He looked really, really good, all things considered.
Big first half from our guy, Blake Bell. We had the touchdown from Mecole Hardman. You see that touchdown there for Alshon Jeffrey, which was the first score of the game, but since then it's been mostly Chiefs. All right, so Carson Wentz getting some calisthenics in, getting stretched out for this second half and trying to lead his Eagles in a comeback here against a depleted Chiefs offense. But Chiefs defense not playing too bad either. Outside of that Alshon Jeffrey touchdown, we saw the Tyrann Mathieu pick. He had a pass breakup outside of that too, and the one Thornhill safety. So outside of that Alshon Jeffrey play, some good defense for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right, they're coming back out here to kick off the second half of this game. Things still pretty wide open from a DFS perspective because, yeah, Blake Bell's gone nuts, but you have other players at least in position to capitalize and potentially have big days. Between Mecole Hardman and Alshon Jeffrey, you've got players who have paths to disrupting the Blake Bell MVP performance. We'll see if maybe Miles Sanders could be one of those guys to contribute in the second half. Not a whole lot going for him in the first half, but we have seen a lot of volume from him. It was Jordan Howard who was in on that goal line package, but outside of that, it's been mostly Miles Sanders here for the Eagles. Second half about to get underway, and again, the Eagles here do have Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, a very different offense than they had last year, and Carson Wentz didn't have a lot of fantasy appeal because of the lack of weapons around him. But JJ, now, they spent the entire offseason trying to restock the shelf there. They've been trying to give him guys who can get downfield, open things up underneath for those tight ends. So what is your fantasy outlook for Carson Wentz now that they, at least in theory, have better weapons for him to throw to?
Yeah, I think he's a top 10 guy entering the season because he does have a little bit of upside too with his legs. We know that he can rush a little bit. And I think that we should feel a little bit better about the weapons that he has there. So I think overall, and the team should be good, and we know they can. What the heck just happened there? We know that they can scheme pretty well offensively. So in the line works, all of that, all of the above. You know, he's not in as bad of a situation. So I think that he is a top 10 guy. I just, you know, there are guys who I actually don't mind in the middle rounds for the first time like ever in my fantasy football analysis or analyst career. That I don't mind going Dak or Kyler in leagues where people tend to go later round quarterbacks so that you can get them at a little bit more of a discount. But then if you're not going to get those guys, I'd rather just wait and get someone like Ryan Tannehill, Daniel Jones, Joe Burrow, just guys who have a little bit of rushing upside and could surprise you with their arm.
I remember how early in the offseason everyone was talking about, Kyler Murray will be this year's Lamar Jackson from a late round quarterback who goes nuts, and nope, didn't happen. He's now like the quarterback 3 or 4 in best ball ADP. So we did not get our chance at cheap Kyler Murray, unfortunately.
No, and you know, the way that I did a podcast on this, actually, if you guys are interested in listening to it, I have a podcast called The Late Round Podcast where I dig into specific topics in fantasy, and they're really analytically driven. But I dug into the late round quarterback philosophy, which is something that I've studied a lot throughout my fantasy football writing career.
What?
Yeah. And, I'm a huge advocate, obviously, of drafting quarterbacks late. That's why my handle is late round QB. But this is one of the first times where I see a market efficiency with ADP and how quarterbacks are being drafted. But then on top of that, back when I first wrote my ebook, The Late Round Quarterback in 2012, the QB 12 was being drafted around round 8. Now in round 8, you're getting like the QB 3 in fantasy, right? So when that happens, and I was advocating that you get the QB 12 in round 8 back in 2012 because the opportunity cost wasn't very high there. But now, if you can get the QB 3 there, sure, go for it, because I do think finally we have an efficient market at the quarterback position. So if you can get Dak or Kyler at that round, I'm not advocating you get them in the 5th or anything, but if you can get them in that round, it does make sense.
Mecole Hardman putting on the steam there. His 3rd reception of the game, he did have a touchdown as well. But Mahomes has just been nuts. 14 of 16. He is at 166 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And unfortunately, Mahomes probably not going to fit into that discussion from a quarterback perspective because he and Lamar Jackson have really, really high price tags. And it's harder to get to them, but I agree. I mean, when you look at like range of outcomes for Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray, there is a situation in which those guys are the highest scoring quarterbacks of the entire season. And Brandon Gadula has done simulations, which are up on NumberFire, that show how often quarterbacks hit certain thresholds. And that's intriguing for sure. Mecole Hardman again flashing the wheels down the sideline. He's trying to reach Blake Bell and get him that MVP slot, but he is so fast.
Yeah, he is fast. But yeah, so I agree with you. I think Dak and Kyler are 2 guys who have that kind of upside. I think that tier sort of, you can maybe include Russell Wilson there if they decide to pass a little bit more, which I think, reading between the lines, it does seem that Schottenheimer is at least a little bit more open-minded than he used to be in terms of throwing the ball more. And then, they have DK Metcalf in year 2 now, and Tyler Lockett being really undervalued as a player. So I could see a scenario where Russell Wilson is, I don't necessarily see it with Josh Allen, but I think Josh Allen has a nice floor. But I think those 5 guys, and Deshaun Watson obviously too, because he's good, but I'm a little bit more worried because they don't have DeAndre Hopkins anymore. But yeah, to your point, Jim, that's the main reason why I understand like a Dak and Kyler and maybe a Russ in those middle rounds, because in terms of trying to match Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, which my projections have them only like 5 points apart. Patrick Mahomes, it's so bizarre. I know I'm going on a tangent here. but it's so bizarre building projections for the Chiefs because not only are they incredibly hyper efficient throwing the ball, but they're one of the most pass heavy teams of like the last decade in neutral game scripts.
Right.
So it's just this combination that you project Patrick Mahomes for over 4,800 yards and you're like, this can't be real. This can't be right. But it's not even that crazy to think.
Well, I think too with that is I think that the gap between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes is it shows how good Mahomes is because with how good of Lamar Jackson is like the perfectly concocted fantasy quarterback with the rushing and how efficient he is as a passer. That's exactly what you want. Right. And yet because Mahomes is so efficient, despite not running a whole lot in the regular season, he is still projected to be in that stratosphere, which to me I think is just it's absurd to think about with how good of a fantasy asset Lamar Jackson is.
And if Mahomes does what he did the last like 5 games of the season, including the playoffs, if he does that on the ground the way that he was running the ball, he is going to break quarterback records in fantasy this season. And we're going to see another year where the quarterback points per game record's broken because he was out of his mind whenever you factor in the rushing. Right.
And the question is, was he running them because those games are more important, or was he running more because that kneecap was fine? The kneecap and the ankle were finally healthy. Exactly. My inclination, given the way that, like, I kind of view this in the same way that, like, Russell Wilson has behaved as a rusher and Joe Burrow behaved as a rusher last year in college, where they run more when it matters more. So my expectation for Mahomes would not be for him to run more, and I'm assuming that that's what you're projecting as well, is where he doesn't run a whole lot, but the possibility is there for him to run more than he did.
Yeah, I mean, what happens if the Chiefs just lose some close games early in the season and then all of a sudden the final 7 games just become really, really important? And from that standpoint, you could see him getting a little bit more de-gaffy with how he approaches it. And, you know, we talked about that before the Super Bowl this past year on, you know, back in February on Covering the Spread, the betting show that Jim hosts. And we talked about that Mahomes was running more, and that was the main reason that got me on Mahomes as the first touchdown scored on the ground, because the odds were good, but also because he was just running. Yeah, he was running more, you know?
And Carson Wentz gets taken down there by Chris Jones. So he points to the sky while on his back. But yeah, I mean, like, it's hard to ignore when there are so many quarterbacks who behaved that exact same way last year. It was Mahomes, Wilson, and Joe Burrow in college, and Trevor Lawrence too, actually, in college. They all ran more when the games mattered more. So I think that's something to keep in mind when you're playing late season DFS next year. Keep in mind that teams will behave differently and players will behave differently. Like, the other thing too is we saw running backs and their snap shares go through the roof. Aaron Jones basically did not leave the field in the playoffs last year because they recognized he was a better back over Jamal Williams. Miles Sanders in their playoff game, he was on the field a bunch. Damian Williams, the playoff games, never left the field. So figure out the importance of the game, and you need to change the way you're approaching it to account for that, where the best players are going to play more and they're going to play differently when there is so much on the line. It's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, it also tells you, especially at the running back position, who these coaches like, right?
Right.
Because
Which
the running back position,
I use that as justification to say, the Chiefs won't take a first-round running back, and then Andy Reid's like, nope, just kidding.
Exactly. But like, you know, for example, though, you can't take it and say this is how the Eagles are going to use Miles Sanders here in 2020 necessarily, like looking at the playoff game and saying he's going to have like a 90% snap share, etc. But what you can say is the Eagles really like Miles Sanders, and that's a good thing, because when it comes to the running back position, it's a coach's choice to put them on the field, whereas a wide receiver, to see volume, he has to get open. Targets are a skill statistic because they have to get open in order to see those targets. They're not schemed to see targets on every target. Of course, there's wide receiver screens and easier targets and lower A-dot players and guys in the slot who are going to see easier matchups. But that's all, you know, you have to all look at a target differently than you look at a running back rush, where a body literally needs to be on the field, a running back body, in order to see a running back rush because they're calling a running play.
Absolutely. And I think that the other thing too is, I want to go back to something you said initially there, where we shouldn't project players to carry that role into this year, which is why even before the A.J. Dillon thing, you shouldn't have expected Aaron Jones to play 90% of the snaps. They were doing that with his lower snap rate intentionally earlier in the year because Matt LaFleur wants to keep him healthy. So you do have to readjust after the year to say, okay, they're probably going to revert back to what they were doing during the regular season going forward.
Right. But they do like Aaron Jones, and that's what it tells you. And they should like Aaron Jones because he's a freaking beast.
Yes, absolutely. 2nd down and 6 here for the Chiefs. They're up 19-10 in the final play of the third quarter. Oh no, our boy Blake Bell. I guess it's not the final play of the third quarter, but our boy Blake Bell letting us down there, man.
This is turning into exactly like last week's Packers-Lions game, where the first half had so much promise, and then the second half was, I don't want to say boring because I want to keep you guys on this stream and watching this, but
I think it's thrilling to watch Blake Bell drop passes personally. I don't know about you. I find it thrilling. But Damian Williams gets the run there, and he's stuffed. So there'll be a punt. We come back in the fourth quarter. Eagles down by 2 scores. They'll be getting the ball back, though, with a lot of time left on the clock, and we've seen some offense in this game thus far. So this game is not done yet, and for those of you who did decide to use Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, still some cause for hope here for sure. Yeah. Also, you mentioned that targets are a skill statistic. That's why Blake Bell got that pass he could drop, is because he's so skilled. So again, the Blake Bell brigade out in full force still.
I that's part of the reason why I get a little upset about like vacated targets when people talk about it. Like I don't think vacated targets is wrong per se, but like when you're talking about DeAndre Hopkins walking away from Houston and saying, oh, he has 150 plus vacated targets or whatever he had last year, you can't assume that one person is going to fill that role of DeAndre Hopkins, because DeAndre Hopkins is arguably the best wide receiver in the game. And him walking away and him getting him getting a target in the game is him getting open because he's good, not just because they're saying we're going to force this ball to DeAndre Hopkins. So always something to keep in mind in fantasy.
And for some players, if they weren't getting targets in a certain year, there's a reason for that. Yeah. And it's important to account for that as well when you're trying to figure out what their role will be. And that's tough because, like, sometimes it legitimately is, like the Chris Godwin situation with Deshaun Jackson. Like, when he played, he did really well, and they were talking him up the whole year. So you could have reasonably projected that Chris Godwin, when given the chance to do so, was going to do well. But there are a lot of situations that have worked the opposite direction of that, too. Chris Godwin is a success story, but there are a lot of unsuccessful stories, too. Another Alshon Jeffrey reception. I believe that's his second.
The thing to keep in mind, too, is, of course, that there are going to be bad teams that are hurt at wide receiver, like we saw with Philly last year, where bad wide receivers or, not starting caliber wide receivers can see a high target share. But what I'm getting at is that if a player is talented, he's going to see that target share in a more sustainable way. And that's really what's important. We're not saying that Greg Ward, because he had a X% target share down the stretch last year, that was all because he was good. You have to give everything context, of course.
Right.
But targets are a skill statistic, and I will go to the grave with that take.
And if we're ranking levels of concern, the level of concern if you're not getting targets is Wentz, again, can't find anybody open, and Frank Clark gets a sack. Rough offensive performance for the Eagles ever since that Alshon Jeffrey touchdown. But if we're ranking levels of concern, it's a concern when you don't get volume but are in a talented offense. Like, that's still a concern. But when you're in an offense where every wide receiver is banged up and you should have a chance to get targets and opportunity, you don't, that is like blaring red lights. Like N'Keal Harry down the stretch last year for the Patriots, JJ Arcega-Whiteside for the Eagles last year. Not getting volume in those opportunities is just, it's such a big warning sign and a flaring red light when that happens.
Yeah, I agree.
That one goes to Zach Ertz, as Ertz picks up a couple of yards and makes it at least manageable, 3rd and 9. Ertz up to 45 receiving yards. I believe just the one catch so far for Dallas Goedert. Deshaun Jackson saying, "Get me the ball, man. I want to see some more D-Jacks here. So let's unleash him here."
Throw it deep, yeah.
3rd down and 9. 3:48 left in the fourth quarter. Eagles down by 2 scores. They got to get the ball moving. He's going to throw it deep. He's lobbing it, and it is caught. Oh my gosh. Goodness. Is that Mac Hollins?
I'm pretty sure it's Mac Hollins.
No, it's Arcega-Whiteside. Oh, my gosh. Right when we were talking about JJ Arcega-Whiteside not getting volume last year, when he should have gotten volume, he posterizes the Chiefs' entire defense. He mosses them for the touchdown, and Carson Wentz brings the Eagles within 3 points.
I thought that I couldn't read the jersey there, but I'm excited. I'm excited that the namesake was able to score a touchdown there. Getting the JJ on the board is always a good
absolutely. And I don't think he uses periods, does he? I think he uses.
I don't believe
JJ.
So. Yeah, I don't believe so.
So JJ Arcega-Whiteside with the long touchdown. Matt Collins, I think, got released last year, like mid-season. So I probably should have known that it wasn't him. But JJ Arcega-Whiteside, man.
He should be on this roster, though. That's why I was thinking that it would be him.
I think he may have gotten cut mid-season. I don't recall. But Matt Collins is like always like that guy who people would get excited about because he has like this crazy speed and like any injury, be like, oh my gosh, it's Matt Collins season. Or like preseason, he actually did some stuff every now and then. But 2-point game now, 19-17. Mecole Hardman back to return the kick. And now the Chiefs got to add to this lead. You can't just run out the clock here. You need to add to this lead. 3:40 left, 3 timeouts for the Eagles. Let's see some more Patrick Mahomes. Let's get our boy Blake Bell involved again. Let's get some more Mecole Hardman because it's been a fun game so far for the Chiefs offense.
It has. I hope we see more deep passes though, because that was fun.
Yeah, and if we can see someone posterize someone again, I am so much more in favor of it. Mahomes had 150 yards at halftime, only 38 so far here in the second half. Let's see what he can do here, though. We know the Chiefs are willing to throw in any situation. Here, I think it's very logical to throw because you need first downs, and the best way to do so when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback is to throw it, but they do go with kind of a heavy formation here. Anthony Sherman in at fullback, and they do the play-action fake. Nice. Mahomes completes it to Damian. Damian, a couple 4 yards short of the first down there, and Damian's actually had a couple of receptions. He's had a non-negligible contribution in that category. 4 receptions, 26 yards. That is 3.6 or 4.6 FanDuel points. No, yeah, 4.6. I can't do math. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4.6 FanDuel points from receptions alone for Damian Williams. They are running down the clock, and the pass almost picked off. They jumped the route there, and that could have been treacherous because if they had housed that, the Eagles would have had the lead. So Mahomes got to be cautious here, even if they are throwing. I've had fun with this game, JJ. This has been good.
I have too. This is one of the better ones that we've had. Big third down here, though.
Let's just chuck it deep. Let's just keep it going. Actually, this is good Blake Bell territory. And instead, they go out to that's Demarcus Robinson and pick up the first down. And that's going to bring us almost to the 2-minute warning. The Eagles do have all 3 timeouts, so still plenty of time left in this game, but that is a huge first down there for the Chiefs as Mahomes finds Demarcus Robinson for the first down.
Man, the difference in this game is that safety. After the punt down to the 2, able to get the safety, and that's the main reason why this game isn't tied right now. It's the reason.
See if the Chiefs decide to go run here, because the Eagles could call timeout before the 2-minute warning, depending on how much time is left on the clock after this play. Mahomes goes play-action fake. I love it. But he gets sacked by Fletcher Cox, his second sack, and we will get down to the 2-minute warning. That's a huge play for the Eagles. They've got the 3 timeouts left. Now it makes the odds the Chiefs get a first down and, essentially end this game much lower.
Yeah, that was absolutely huge. 2nd and 20, obviously, we've seen Patrick Mahomes in a long down and distance situation and big moments come through. But this is still not an easy task.
You can never count out Patrick Mahomes, no matter what the sticks may say. Handoff goes to Damian Williams. They're going to try to force the Eagles to take that timeout, and they do. So 1:56 left. Eagles down by 2, but they're going to get the ball back. Still 2 timeouts left in their back pocket, and with the offensive explosion they have shown in spurts in this game, and all they need is a Jake Elliott field goal. So this game is very much not done yet.
They gotta. We'll see if they end up throwing and running on this. Third
that was
down.
third down. I thought that was I thought that was third down, but it was indeed second down.
But they might just run it still, and
right to get
Jim. All you were doing there was understanding the way that the coaches in these Madden simulations think.
Yeah.
And you were anticipating them running the ball because that was predictable.
Imagine throwing on 2nd and 20. Imagine throwing on 2nd and 20. I can't.
Imagine throwing on 3rd and 13 with Patrick Mahomes, and even still, I would be throwing the ball just because.
Yeah. Anytime Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, you got to do it. Oh, they almost fumbled the snap there.
Yeah, what was that?
That would have been huge. And another punt almost down inside the 5, but not quite. All right. So Dustin Colquitt almost having an MVP performance of his own. Let's see what the Eagles can do here. Long touchdowns for Alshon Jeffrey and JJ Arcega-Whiteside. They're not done yet.
They only need like 50 yards to get into range, less than 50, and they can do that. This is far from over.
There was that game where they had just signed Jake Elliott, and he had a 60-yard field goal attempt to win it, and he just nailed it. So we know Jake Elliott can hit him in the clutch. So, like you said, they just need to move the ball and see if they can get into field goal territory here. Still one timeout left as well. Carson Wentz dropping back to pass, plenty of time, and he does complete this one to Alshon Jeffrey along the far sideline. And let's see some no huddle here. Down by 2 points, plenty of time to work with.
Didn't even think of the Kelce brothers not playing against each other today because we took Travis out of the game.
I didn't think about that either. Jason ready to snap it. Back to Carson Wentz. They fake the handoff. Wentz spins around, runs into Jason Peters.
Oh, my goodness.
And a long throw downfield. Oh, my gosh. Carson Wentz unleashes and completes it.
Bonkers.
All the way downfield.
Who was that, D-Jax?
And Nelson
Aguilar, naturally.
So JJ Arcega-Whiteside and Nelson Aguilar were the 2 biggest catches in this game, and they put the Eagles in field goal territory, and the Chiefs call the timeout, and they do need to be on the defense now. Handoff goes to Miles Sanders. He is stuffed. They should call another timeout here, and they do. But wow, what a play by Nelson Aguilar. Carson Wentz showing, hey, last year when I couldn't complete passes downfield, now that I've got weapons, we're back, baby.
The best was that Wentz couldn't escape the pocket there because his offense, I don't know who it was.
It was Jason Peters. He ran into Jason Peters and was stuck to him and glitching, but he's still whatever, let's just chuck it and see what happens.
Yeah, to a wide open Nelson Aguilar.
Another handoff to Sanders, and he gets some space, and he's down inside the 10 to the 9. All right,
first down there a first down and not a touchdown would be pretty huge.
Absolutely. But 1:02 left, so the Eagles can run a play here, and if they don't get a first down, they can kick the field goal, and they give the Chiefs about 20 seconds left. And with the way this game is gone, that's enough.
Yeah, it is. But in those situations, you can't kneel down because you have to have the lead in order for.
Right. I would still run it here so you can run down that clock.
I would too, yeah.
But they do run it. Ooh, he was close. But Sanders doesn't quite get it. All right, so we are going to see Jake Elliott out here. Jake Elliott, 1 field goal so far in this game. And if he gets number 2, it'd be good for you who used him in DFS, but also it would give the Eagles a 1-point lead with not a whole lot of time left.
The Eagles' defense played a lot better in the second half of this game.
Indeed they did. And that offense lagged for a long time, but they came back to life when it mattered with the long passes to JJ Arcega-Whiteside and Nelson Aguilar. All right, here is Jake Elliott on for the short field goal attempt, and it's good. Eagles on top, 20-19, 18 seconds left in the game. A little bit of hero ball from Carson Wentz and Nelson Aguilar to set that up.
I can sense a big Blake Bell play coming.
Man, I hope so. 18 seconds left, but Blake Bell doesn't need 18 seconds to cook. You give him 8 seconds, we're dandy. And honestly, Mecole Hardman could just return this kick for a touchdown anyway. So, it may not even matter. We may not need that time on offense because he's such a threat.
If Mecole Hardman returns this kick, I might have to just leave this.
Just
be
walk
done
away.
With this stream. I won't be able to handle it.
All right, 18 seconds. Mecole Hardman will return it from the 6-yard line, showing off that speed. No touchdown here, but 14 seconds left for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense. So we will see what he can do here. Once again, no weapons for Carson Wentz in this game. No Tyreek Hill, no Travis Kelce, no Sammy Watkins. I guess he does still have weapons because Blake Bell was still there, which is what matters. But he's played well. He's been efficient. The second half not as good as the first half, but overall still really good. All right, Mahomes rolls. He's locked in, but he is taken down by Timmy Jernigan. Right? That's going to be game. I don't think they have time to run a play. Timmy Jernigan, the closer, to win the game here for the Eagles, and they do win it 20-19. And now we understand why Andy Reid was displeased earlier on. Because they lose here. Mahomes, 202 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Carson Wentz, though, 269, 2 touchdowns, and that 1 pick. He was awesome in this game, JJ.
He was. Those 2 big plays to Arcega-Whiteside and then to Nelson Agholor, that was the difference. That was really the difference in this game. So props to Carson Wentz for not letting Jason Peters get in the way.
Now, Alshon Jeffrey, 85 receiving yards and a touchdown. Blake Bell, 71 yards and that touchdown there. JJ, any final thoughts for you as we close up shop here?
I thought Patrick Mahomes still looked pretty good despite not having those weapons, but I like watching Patrick Mahomes with those weapons a little bit more.
Absolutely. Once again, we'll be back next week. Just watch Lamar Jackson on the Browns and then Jimmy G on the Patriots. Subscribe to the FanDuel YouTube page for that. That's all we got for tonight, though, here on the FanDuel Football Multiverse. Chiefs fall 20-19. We'll talk to you once again next week.